sticking sort of health related, about the baby bonus. Back in the day, Peter Costello, what was he, minister for? Minister for something, 2004. Basically, there was a bonus up between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on when you had the kid, per kid, and the incentive was the government was subsidising the birth of children. Basically, I mean, there's a lot of nations around the world have subsidies for having children or subsidised childcare or various elements of raising a kid. So this was an actual payment at birth of child. So there's a think tank's had a bit of a research. I don't know what their alignment is, but it led to an extra 16,000 kiddies showing up, and that saying that a similar program now may not work. So yeah, it started in mid 2004, ran through to mid 2014, and the statement, one for mum and dad and one for the country. I thought it was John Howard that had said it, but no, it was Costello. And so the question, I guess, is how effective was it? And they've now run the analysis, or an analysis, saying, oh yeah, there was an extra 16,000 kiddies. Women exposed to the policy were more likely to end up with 3 or more children. Okay, you're above replacement rate at that. And an increased long-term family size, not just the timing. Now, the timing of births means, well, basically, I was always planning to have the kid. I'm just having the kid now because I'm getting some money. So they're talking about added kiddies on top of a family that already has kiddies, as opposed to, we'll just bring that one forward. 250,000 births in the year before the bonus started, 300,000 by 2008, peaking at 315 in 2018. And then it's fallen back to 286,000 in 2023. This is missing some demographic data, which was present in the other articles we've talked about, where we've talked about migration and Australia's population. So the births per mother are reducing much faster. It's not just a straight up, the same number of mothers between 2008 and 2023. Nah. There's more women of childbearing age in Australia, many more women of childbearing age in Australia since 2008. So the birth rate, the per capita birth rate has dropped a lot more than that would suggest. So, yep, initial payment of $3,000, climbed to 5,000 eventually. And this one's an interesting one. It comes down to one of those things like, how much money do you need to be comfortable? Like, at what point, how much do you have to earn per year to be comfortable? And then anything in excess doesn't fundamentally change your level of comfort as much as getting to that value first did. So an extra $100,000 a year has less impact than the first $100,000, for example. The study found that between the 3 and the 5,000 values, the $3,000 value was most effective at generating number of kiddies, and that various refunds and other bits and pieces had no detectable effect on fertility. The greatest level of impact was on those with less education. So those who didn't finish year 12, so year 10 level, presumably, an 8% increase, and 10% with those with no taxable income. Now, you don't want to race ahead and suggest that these are less educated, lower socioeconomic class or anything like that. It's entirely possible they're already stay-at-home mothers, in which case you're coming from a family that's got lots of money coming in, because being able to have a single income stay-at-home mother is, well, then again, childcare costs are insane. And 8% with below median incomes. Okay, fair enough. I mean, they may have always been planning to have kids. 9% increase of births of a third or fourth child. Okay, fair enough. However, the total cost to the taxpayer per kid over the time is $86,000. That's, yeah, interesting. Various supports exist now that didn't exist formerly then. I mean, paid parental leave, not government paid stuff, but I mean, certain workplaces had paid parental leave. Expanded childcare, yeah, well, you go and check the wait lists to get a kid on childcare. Yep, but obviously there's criticism of the study suggesting that maybe there's more generous plans that haven't had its effect. Yeah, fertility rates just continue to fall in Western nations. Peaked at 3.5, 1961. That's pretty cool. Now, one thing I did see suggested is that you're looking at these periods of echoes of generational echoes. So you've got your boomers, then it climbed again in the 1970s for Gen X as Gen X started being born because the boomers started having kids. And then the problem, though, fertility fell to its lowest level in 2001, just as Gen X moved into prime child rearing years. And then it increased to 2.02 in 2008, which is just enough, but then dropped again. The issue, and this comes back to another article that was seen previously, is that the average age of a first-time mother in Australia is nudging 30, and there is an increasing number of what do they call them? Do they call them geriatric pregnancies? No, there's another name for it. Pregnancies after the age of 35, which are high risk, to be honest. The Australian women who are having kids are delaying them much later in life, which obviously has impacts on pregnancy and sustainability and viability and all the other bits and pieces. But we're now nudging 30, which wasn't the case a generation ago. And so this idea, we've got this generational echo appearing in the population as new generations come to childbearing age and have kids, is now sliding by up to a decade because, well, they're now having kids at 30 and not before. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. And there's issues for people who want to have kids, can't afford them. I mean, but then again, I've read that if you wait until you can afford to have kids, you'll never have them. To be quite honest, I don't know anyone who's got kids who said that they could afford to have them when they had them. Part of life, I guess.